What is going on, guys? This is RRPG here, and it has been quite a while since I have, posted anything on my YouTube channel in relation to anything. You've seen that I've been doing the live streams on the Nintendo Directs that happen, and I've ended up doing live streams based on what all happened during E3 2021. So, a lot of you might be wondering why I have not posted any new content as of recent. More specifically, why have I not posted episode 13 of the Final Fantasy Retrospective that I have been doing for quite some time? Well, there are some good reasons for that, but I'm going to talk about those reasons in order and why it's been taking so long for me to get episode 13 out to all of you, or any type of content in general. So please excuse me if I do tend to stutter a lot. I'm not really good at talking on the spot, as I usually do tend to do well with talking with scripts. And, I may go off tangent on a lot of things, but hopefully I'll try to keep everything, concise and, all together. So that way I don't stray way too off track when I'm talking about this, but I won't even get any further than that. So anyway, the first reason why episode 13 has been delayed quite a whole lot. I originally planned to have episode 13 of the Final Fantasy Retrospective up and ready before the first half of 2021 ending, which would be at the end of June. But unfortunately, a lot of things happened within this year, and I gotta say that 2021 has been a very arduous and very trying year for me for 5 reasons, and 5 reasons only. First of all, the first reason why I have not gotten episode 13 out to all of you is because back in February, I ended up in quarantine because of COVID-19. Now, I did not get COVID-19. Instead, a family member of mine got COVID-19 because they tested positive, but she didn't have any major symptoms toward the virus. Instead, she only got mild symptoms. So she managed to get out of that just fine. And luckily for me, I did not get tested positive for COVID-19, as I ended up coming out of it just fine. So I've been out of work for 3 weeks during, 3 whole weeks during the month of February, from the beginning portions of February all the way up to the 21st. But then again, I can't remember the exact dates when I was in quarantine, but I was, staying at home because of that. But the positive side of me being quarantined or me staying at home for within those 3 weeks was it helped me get started with episode 13 of capturing footage of the crossover and anniversary games for the Final Fantasy series. That counts Dissidia Duodecim, Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, the Theater Rhythm games, Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy and Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call, as well as trying to work on World of Final Fantasy. And those are the games that I'm going to be covering in episode 13. So I was working on those things, and I've been running into certain conundrums, such as trying to play some of those games as fluently and efficiently as possible, as well as getting the proper hardware, specifically the PSP capture, the PSP hardware and an HDMI cable for the PSP. Because when I was trying to capture footage for the Dissidia Final Fantasy games on the PSP, I ended up trying to use an emulator first when I was trying to capture the footage, but there will always be some graphical glitches that would happen here and there. So that's when I decided to get a PSP, and then I ended up capturing the footage from there onto my HD capture card. And for the most part, it actually came out just fine. But when I got the PSP at first, it was not functioning in a proper manner because the LCD screen was jacked up, and then the motherboard was also kind of getting jacked up too when I was getting into the tail end of capturing footage for the Dissidia Final Fantasy games on the PSP. I did get the parts for the screen as well as the motherboard, but the screen was the only thing that I fixed by far. I have not touched the motherboard just yet because when capturing the footage from the PSP, I did not really have that much trouble until I got near the end of both those games. but I was able to get through it all the way through without it causing so much trouble that I am happy and content with what I captured for those games by far. So yeah, COVID-19 definitely was a reason for the episode's delay, but it was a benefit to try to get those most of the footage captured on my end. Now, the second reason why I have not been able to get episode 13 up to you all sooner is because I had a death in the family. Well, specifically two deaths in the family, specifically family pets. And one of them ended up getting diagnosed with canine lymphoma back in November of last year. And then by March 26th, 2021, which is the day that Monster Hunter Rise came out, that's when one of the pets one of my dogs ended up crossing over to the Rainbow Bridge, basically passing away because of him succumbing to the disease. So yeah, he passed away peacefully at our house during that day, and instead of us taking him to a vet to put him down, which we were originally going to do, but he ended up passing away at home, so he would be somewhere where he felt very comfortable and he would pass away peacefully. And then we had another death in the family. Another family pet of ours ended up dying, but that was about a month later, and it was another dog. But the thing is that she was like 17 or 18 years old, and it was getting to the point where she had cataracts in her eyes, I believe, or she wasn't aware of her surroundings, and she would always bump her head into wherever she would just walk forward to. So with that constantly happening, we had to put her down as a result. So I had two family pets die a month apart from each other, and it was a very trying time for all of us because of what happened, and especially with the other dog, who is still happy and fit as a fiddle and healthy as an ox. I'm pretty sure, was very sad that he did not have any family members with him. And that eventually led to the month of May, where we ended up getting a new puppy. And she has been a handful with trying to take care of, and she has been she's been very difficult to work with, especially when it comes to me trying to work on new content. There were times where whenever I wanted to try to work on new content or even do voiceovers, she would always yelp and bark at anything that would pass by the window at our house. So with her constantly barking and with the big dog barking, or the other one who's still alive, it was kind of putting a damper with trying to get anything done in production in terms of like voiceovers and all that. And even the live streams too had a really big significant impact on that as well. Well, during some times when they would just bark just bark whenever something, caught their attention. But then again, that's just the nature of dogs in general. Whenever they see something, they feel like they have to protect their territory. So yeah, she's been a handful, and she has not been a very nice dog. Well, she is a nice dog, but she has been very naughty on some days whenever she would chew up furniture. It's just, she has been tiring and a handful for me, essentially. And because of many of these things, it occasionally led to me suffering from burnout when capturing the footage of the Final Fantasy games. And this does tend to happen to me from time to time, and it does tend to happen to me a lot now when trying to capture footage of those games, because I've been doing the project for so long, and with me almost being done with the project, it's really taken a toll with my mental health with trying to stay focused and trying to get everything done with what I want to do. But as far as I know, these games, with the anniversary and crossover games, they are the only ones that I am capturing that's left over for me to actually capture within this project. And it's not the first time where I felt burnout when capturing footage of those games, as I did feel burnout, especially when it came to me doing or capturing the footage for episode 9, which were the games that were based on Evilise. And I even felt especially burnt out when I was capturing footage of Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, which was episode 11, with starting from A Realm Reborn all the way to version 5.2 when it came to Shadowbringers. Anything after that, I did not capture from that point, but I mean, with me working 4 months straight with capturing that footage, yeah, it definitely took a toll on me. And I definitely even felt it too when I was working on episode 12, which were the games that covered Final Fantasy 15 and its companion material. So I do suffer occasional burnout from time to time when I do these kind of things, but I do tend to return to them eventually when I'm ready to actually finish them up in their entirety. So not to worry, as I will eventually get back to capturing the remainder of footage of World of Final Fantasy, since that is the last game I need to capture amongst my list of games that I'm capturing footage for. And, you know, I've been hearing a lot of people say to me, you know, when you're capturing footage, why don't you rip the footage of other people's gameplay capture from YouTube and use it for yourself? And occasionally I do that, but at the same time, I would rather capture footage that's done by me, so that way all the footage is fresh and there are no video glitches or any watermarks or anything like that when I'm capturing the footage, or when I'm ripping the footage off of YouTube, because I want everything to feel fresh that's done by me on the games that I'm playing. So that's why it's been taking so long for me to get some of these episodes up. And finally, the main reason why why I haven't been able to get episode 13 up as of recent, and this was the most recent thing that happened to me, was that back on July 30th, the truck that I've been driving for about almost 20 years ended up dying on me because the clutch got crapped out. I was driving a standard vehicle where there was a stick shift. But the thing is that after driving it for so long, for almost 20 years, there comes a point when vehicles will start to crap out on you. And eventually, that vehicle did crap out on me because of a bad clutch, or the clutch was actually starting to wear. And on top of that, there were also other problems, like there not being any air conditioning inside my truck, and that was a really big pain whenever it came to summertime because of it being hot and all that. So for almost the past 2 months, I've been working diligently and very hard with trying to get a new vehicle. I eventually started driving again, and I did get a new vehicle not too long ago, so that eventually I was able to get out of that conundrum. So with that being all said, done, and out of the way, I'm back on my own 2 feet when it comes to driving again, and I don't even have to worry about driving anywhere else that's about 2 hours away from where I live, because trying to find a used car in today's market is really tough because of not only COVID-19, but also the semiconductor chip shortage that's happening from around the world. And trying to find the perfect vehicle that I wanted to drive after the truck broke down, it was not a very easy task. And, you could ask some of my friends, like through the Geek Fighters or through Hero Club, and they can tell you how tiring it was for me trying to find a new vehicle. But anyways, so yeah, those are the reasons why episode 13 has been delayed. And because of all these conundrums that were happening to me within the time period, things just did not pan out well in the end. And, when I'm trying to work on videos like this, I really don't have a specific deadline that I want to try to meet for the videos, and for me trying to set a specific deadline, I realize that's kind of silly, and I should be able to put out the video whenever I'm ready to put it out. So, by what I'm saying right here, episode 13 is not on hiatus status, but it is on when it's done or when it's ready to go up online status, or when it's ready status in general. I know it's not the answer you guys wanted to hear, but I have not even given up on finishing up on the retrospective, because I do want to get it done, mainly by next year, since I have taken so long. I originally wanted to get it done by this year because there are so many other retrospective projects that I want to try out. One that involves me collaborating with a fellow member of the Geek Fighters that I'm a part of, but I will be posting more information once I have more details. And there is one solo one that I want to try to do after the Final Fantasy Retrospective is done. I kind of want to do one on the Legend of Zelda series, but instead of me doing like 2 games per video, or however many games per video, I want to try to do like 1 game per video, so that way I'll get more episodes out and I'll get more content up for you guys, so that way you're not having to wait so long between episodes and all that. and also with me doing reviews again, because I am starting to do reviews again. I have a new review that's in the works that I've been working on throughout most of this year, and I'm almost done with it, but when it goes up, I'm not entirely sure. But after I get done with this update video, I want to try to get back to working on that, because it's been far too long since I've worked on any content, and I want to try to get that done in the meantime. And there's one other thing that I'm sure a lot of you are probably also going to ask me is, am I going to be covering Final Fantasy 16 when that releases for the PlayStation 5 for the Final Fantasy Retrospective? I know it's something that you guys want me to talk about, since, I am doing this retrospective series, but the answer to that is no. And why is the answer to that no? Well, because when I did the Final Fantasy Retrospective, Final Fantasy 15 was going to be like the last mainline installment that I would be talking about. And since we don't have a definitive release date for Final Fantasy 16 as of yet, I realized that there's gonna come to a point where I am going to need to stop the retrospective series and not go too far beyond what I've already worked with. But I won't be covering the whole game, but at least I will be talking about it in the final episode, as well as the first part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, since I'm not going to be talking about that in whole either, since, we only got part 1, and we don't know how many parts are going to be for the entirety of the remake, but hopefully it will, not last for 1 or 2 decades, which lasting for a decade I could see, but lasting for 2 decades, that's quite a long time, and I don't think a lot of people have the patience to wait for that. So yeah, episode 15 is going to be the last episode of the Final Fantasy Retrospective that I'm doing, but I want to try to get that done by next year after I get done with episode 13, as well as episode 14. Episode 14 is kind of a special episode that I'm going to be working on that's going to be more focused on the main protagonists of the Final Fantasy games, leading up to 15. But of course, there are omissions like the heroes of Final Fantasy, the main character of Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV, which is the player's created character, because they pretty much play in the same light as the hero or the Warriors of Light from the original Final Fantasy. So I'm not going to be covering that, or I'm not going to be covering those throughout that episode in general. But yeah, as I said, episode 15 is going to be the last one, but hopefully I'll get episode 14 and 15 out by next year, but anything could go south, and that's going to put me in another delay situation. But I really hope that's not the case going forward with the rest of this year and going into next year. So anyway, what can you do in the meantime to follow me? Well, I do have my Facebook and Twitter page, which are facebook.com/RRPGReviews and twitter.com/RRPGReviews. I only post on those I only post on those Facebook and Twitter pages just in case if I have new updates that come along in relation to any projects that I'm working on. So be sure to follow me on there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you have not done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that way you can stay subscribed to my content and you can see me whenever I post a new episode online. But if you're having trouble trying to see when new episodes from me come online, then be sure to hit that bell notification so that way you'll be notified via email of when I have a new episode that's posted on YouTube. And you can also follow me on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/RRPGReviews. I haven't really done any live streams on there for quite a while. Instead, I have opted to live stream on both YouTube and Twitch via Restream at the same time. So that way you guys can see me on both those channels, and I can interact with all of you between YouTube and Twitch. And speaking of which, you can also follow me through the Geek Fighters, which is the collab group that I am a part of. We have a YouTube page, and we also have a Twitch. The only thing that we have on our YouTube channel are the archives of our live streams that we do every Saturday. As I said, we do stream every Saturday, which you can follow us at twitch.tv/thegeekfighters. And it's mostly me who plays the games, but sometimes my friends Fighter Kaus and Master with Blue of Eyes will actually do live streams of themselves. But So far, I have been doing a vast majority of the brunt work when it comes to games that I play for them. But of course, I give them a shot to play some games whenever they feel like it as well. And of course, about every 4 weeks, we usually do a Fightcade stream. We play against each other via fighting games through Fightcade because of the rollback netcode, and it really makes it easier for us to interact with each other doing that. And we might try some other things too. We might try some things like the Nintendo Switch Online when it comes to Super Nintendo, NES, and the upcoming Nintendo 64 games, as well as the Sega Genesis games that are coming onto the service. But we will have more information to post on that, which you can find us at facebook.com/thegeekfighters and twitter.com/thegeekfighters as we post on those social media sites as well. And speaking of which, if you have not done so already, I am a part of the Geek Fighters Discord server, and if you have not done so already, be sure to follow me there and be a part of the community. We want to try to be more proactive with interacting with the community instead of just ourselves, because we want to try and build up a great community for us all. So yeah, be sure to go follow us over there. I don't have a Discord server that's under my name because when it comes to Discord, I haven't really learned all the basics of Discord as of yet. And if I did do a Discord server, then it would probably be something like if I were to start a Patreon. But Patreon is not amongst my list of things that I want to do for the time being, because I don't have that many subscribers between my YouTube and Twitch page. But if I were to get, say, like 25,000 or maybe even 50,000 or 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, then that's when I can start thinking about doing something like a Patreon, where you guys can donate to make my content better and all that, whether it be something like software or hardware. But for right now, it's really not in the calling cards. But yeah, those are the things that I have to update to you all via this update video. I'm sorry that that wasn't the answer you wanted to hear from me in regards to episode 13's delay. But even though that's being worked on, I'm also working on a review, so be on the lookout for that in the meantime. And be on the lookout for more content coming from me in the future that you're not going to find anywhere else, whether it be here on my YouTube page, or through the Geek Fighters, or through the Twitch pages in general, or through the Facebook and Twitter pages in general, or the Discord server in general. You will always see me have something to update you all with, whether it be something, interactive, or something fun like a new video or whatever. But yeah, anyways, this video has gone on too long, as I do need to get back to work, so I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me, and I really do hope that you all look forward to whatever I have coming out in the future. So until next time, this is Double RPG signing off by saying Godspeed, game on gamers, and thanks for sitting through this and putting up with me with my, with my just difficulty with trying to express myself to you all via on the spot, since I'm not really prone to do that. But anyway, you guys take it easy, and I'll catch you later. So peace out.